Rock may soon be back in business, and I'm not talking about Dwayne Johnson. President Trump said in a post on Truth Social he is directing the Bureau of Prisons, DOJ, FBI, and Homeland Security to rebuild Alcatraz Island.
So the notorious Supermax federal penitentiary last held prisoners in 1963, but it was closed due to crumbling infrastructure and high costs. President Trump says he wants to use a rebuild prison to house, quote, America's most violent offenders.
Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate. Nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz, and just represented something strong having to do with law and order. We need law and order in this country.
Republicans seem to be jumping on board. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullins applauded the idea on Fox News Monday.
I'm all about it. And when we want to, start talking about criminals being punished, I don't believe in keeping them comfortable. I want them to regret the crime that they have committed. Well, let's have Riker and let's have Alcatraz both open. So we've got the East Coast and the West Coast both covered, and put our most notorious criminals in both of them.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, however, is saying it's a non-starter. She said, quote, Pelosi represents part of that San Francisco that houses Alcatraz, and she said this, quote, on X, Alcatraz closed as a federal penitentiary more than 60 years ago. It's now a very popular national park and major tourist attraction. The president's proposal is not a serious one.
Yes, it is a historical landmark now, which I think is the difficulty. I mean, I guess it could be remade into a prison complex. That sounds kind of expensive. I have been to San Francisco. I saw it from the city. You can look out into
You didn't
the
want to spend your
waters and see
vacation
it.
at jail?
I Googled, like, can you get a tour of it? But I didn't do it, but I saw it from afar. And I guess I'm just not for necessarily winding the clock back on this one and making it a prison complex instead of a historic landmark. If we need more prison space, this doesn't seem like the most efficient or like cost-effective way to build more prison space. I don't want prisons to be cramped for the prisoners. Unlike Senator Mullins, I don't want prison to be suffering. It's not about revenge. It's about public safety, and there are some people who can no longer be out and about in society and have committed crimes and need to be kept behind bars to keep the rest of us safe. I think of it more as a safety function than a punitive, chamber. Well, certainly than a torture chamber. I don't think that Alcatraz was necessarily a torture chamber. The reason it's impossible to escape from. The waters around Alcatraz the current is very strong, and I guess it's virtually impossible to escape from. Maybe you could have like a balloon or something. I don't know, a long pole vault. But
I agree. There were no known escapes, and it was a very functional prison when it was working. 60 years ago, it was shark-infested waters on top of the waves surrounding it, so nobody was escaping.
Yeah.
But I think, like Nancy Pelosi was saying, this is not realistic. I mean, there's no running water. There's no working pipes. It would cost millions of dollars to fix it.
You could build all those things, but it would cost a lot of money.
Right.
So.
What's the strategy here? Also, it revenues $60 million, which we're trying to bring in money for San Francisco every single year, and probably some federal funding there as well. So I think that's like all stuff that you're going to take away to then put a ton of money that we're trying to cut the budget to rebuild Alcatraz that no one called for. So it just kind of like saying things that are not being allocated properly, that make no sense and don't fall in line with what DOJ was trying to accomplish. Is this the most efficient way to cut government spending, reopening Alcatraz? I mean, I was just
It's also near a giant city. Like, there's so much of the interior of the country that is just empty land where not a lot of people live, that's sparsely populated.
Right.
Like, why don't where it's easier to build, more cost effective. If we need more prisons, I don't know why we wouldn't just put them there.
Right. Also, when Alcatraz was open, I was reading yesterday that it cost 3 times more than most prisons in the U.S. to house the prisoners there for some reason, maybe because of all the...
hotels in San Francisco cost 3 times more than they do anywhere else.
Because all of Google works there. Huh? Yeah, so I think it's just a little bit unrealistic. And as much as, I think people who are criminals deserve to be brought to justice and go to jail, I don't know why this is called for right now. Again, a lot of the stuff that's thrown out by Trump, I try to take him at his word, try to hear what he's saying about what he plans to do.
No, I appreciate that you're not a hair on fire liberal, shrieking hysterically about it. But this does not seem like a serious suggestion to me either.
That's what I'm saying, and I think that people, the blind allegiance part bothers me. Like when you see people go on Fox or come on News Nation and say, yes, this is a great idea. Like, tell me why exactly. Explain, besides you want to get in good graces with Trump. Say something real.
Right, even Trump, as he was defending, he's like, it's just kind of like a reminder of our time when we were serious about law and order. Like for him even, it's a vibe more than a serious plan. He wants to be associated with the vibe of law and order. Republicans are, I think, smartly associating themselves with that. There is too much crime and disorder in our society. Many cities suffered crime spikes as a result of the pandemic or happening alongside the pandemic and for other reasons. A lot of disorder that is not good. Those are criminal justice problems that we have in D.C. D.C. is a horrible crime problem. It's gotten better in the last 2 years. Before that, it was really bad. Part of it is, I think, a lack of police resources. I say that even as a libertarian who is so hesitant to allocate more funding to government for really any reason. It is clear we have a police shortage and we have some jurisdictional problems and other things. So I am open to addressing, even if we got to pay more money for it, crime problems throughout the country. I don't know that reopening Alcatraz to prisoners is going to be the best idea there.
I agree. The law and order thing has always worked for Republicans, so they should keep going. Does Israel have plans to flatten Gaza? Expert Trita Parsi explains. That's next.